Hello, dear friends. I am Dr. Sejal Nayak. Greetings from Surat. I am really thankful to IAG for giving me this opportunity today to demonstrate the instrumentation in hysteroscopy for hysteroscopy training purpose. So today I'll be talking about the instrumentation in hysteroscopy. As we all know, even the simplest tool can empower people to do great things. So let us discuss. The hysteroscopy has derived the word from the two Greek words hystera means uterus and scopio means to view. Hysteroscopy is the procedure to inspect the uterine cavity by endoscopy through the cervix and can be diagnostic or the operative. The modern era has come up with a smaller size of the telescope and the smaller size of assembly. If we go back to the history, the first performed on live human subject hysteroscopy by Pantaleone in 1869, where he used a tube with the external light source, and later David performed hysteroscopic examination using cystoscope with internal light and lens system. The basic instruments for hysteroscopy consist of the telescope, sheath or the operative instruments, the sectoscope, and the office hysteroscopy. So telescope can be flexible or the rigid with a different variety like fixed or variable focusing. There's a different view of vision that can be 0 degree, 15, 25 degree, 30 degree, 45 degree, etc. Different diameters of the telescope, 1.9, 2.9, etc. The sheets can be divided into diagnostic sheet and the operative sheets, and can be single compartment or the separate compartments for outflow, inflow, and working elements. Receptoscope can also be divided into bipolar or the unipolar receptoscope, and there's a different sets for office hysteroscopy. So telescope has the three important parts that are the eyepiece, where the camera we attach. There's a barrel which contains the optic fibers and the lens system, and the objective lens with the different angles for different view of vision. Can be rigid and the flexible and with the fixed or variable focusing. Now, if we commonly use we are the rigid telescope, it can be 1.9 to 2.9 mm size, and which rarely requires cervical dilatation. So most commonly used for diagnostic procedure with a highly satisfying vision. Operative surgery requires little good vision, and the sharpest and the cleanest image we achieve with a 4 to 5 mm telescope, and 8 to 10 mm may require for the continuous flow, but very less commonly used because then it's require lots of dilatation for the cervix. Now, optics the lens can be divided basically into classic optics, where the width of the lens are far less than the telescope. Commonly used are the Hopkins, which has a lens has a larger diameter and the smaller separations between the lenses. And another is used for the contact hysteroscopy is the graded index lens system. Now, different angle of vision gives the different view. The 0 degree gives the straightforward view, and there is no change in the view with the rotation of the telescope on 360 degree, and it allows the operator to see operative devices on a relatively distant panorama. 30 degree are one of the commonly used in hysteroscopy. It gives a better visualization of the uterocornual tubal junction, and it gives the 2 to 3 centimeter depth with a 4 or to 5 times magnification, and it is very easy and very commonly used with the distension, liquid distension media, can give 60 to 90 degree of field of vision. Now, flexible telescopes are also available in different diameter with the 2 mm operating sheet, and it has a soft flexible front section and the semi-rigid rear section. It is comfortable and easily used with especially acutely retroverted or acutely introverted uterus, but they are available with single-use disposable sheets also, but it eliminate the image and its resolution due to the light transmission by fibers are are not that good, and that's a high cost added to it with the fragility, so less commonly used. Now, apart from the telescope, there are sheets, can be diagnostic or operative. Diagnostic sheets has the 1 mm space between to deliver the distension media. So it consists of 4 to 5 mm of the diagnostic sheet, and there can be operative sheets where there can be single compartment where the irrigation and the outflow are in the same and a working element in the same compartment, or can be separate compartments where the inflow and outflow are the different channels, and the working compartment is also a different. Now, this is the video of showing the instruments and how to assemble your hysteroscope. I routinely use the tubings, irrigation suction tubings if required. So routinely use the Bitoki. Its whole assembly is 4 mm. You can see it through the holes for the drainage of the system. This is a 2.9 mm telescope, and you can see we match the 0 mark and the lining with we rotate it. So that inner sheet has inflow and the working channels of the flow distension media. Same way, we log it doesn't drop out the whole assembly. Once your assembly has been inflow and the outflow according to respective inner sheet and outer log. So once you have the camera, you are ready to perform the diagnosis. So office hysteroscopy is also another set of instruments which are very thin in telescope. It is very easy, simple, safe, quick, and effective way of screening and diagnosis with minimum morbidity and inconvenience. So it's done without anesthesia. It has a very small caliber endoscope. Patients do not require anesthesia, and that they can appreciate the findings of the hysteroscopy, and the procedure can be done under paracervical block or the topical anesthesia. The success of the office hysteroscopy depends upon the proper patient selection and the absence of contraindication, adequate good instrumentations, and meticulous training of the skilled surgeon. You can see there is a Bitoki hysteroscope. 4 mm whole assembly with a 30-degree telescope, can be 2.9 mm, 1.9 mm are also available. Diagnostic as well as minor operative procedure. You can see the trolley of the operative where we require speculum for painting, draping, and then dilator sets. Sometimes we have to hold the Alice and cervix with the Alice's forceps. So instrumentations are operative instrumentations have the graspers, different types of biopsy grasper, or the alligator grasper, can have the scissors. These are the working instruments, and the operative sheet, diagnostic sheet, and what working elements, inner and outer sheets. So if you use the perfect tools for the perfect job, then your efforts won't go wasted. Now we talk about the resectoscope. Resectoscope are for the major operative hysteroscopic procedure like hysteroscopic myomectomy, transcervical resection of endometrium, etc. It includes the forward 0-degree or the 30-degree telescope with 3.5 to 4 mm outer diameter. So here the telescope we use little longer, but still 2.9 mm telescope can also be used with the latest resectoscope available. The sheet is 8 to 9 mm, 29 French diameter. And these are the actually the cases where we need to use the electrodes, electric energy, where we just can't just simply cut like poly with scissors. So resectoscope complete assembly will be 26 French to 29 French with 4 mm Hopkins telescope. The electrodes are either can be cutting loop, there can be barrel or knife, Collins knife are available, or the bipolar resectoscopes are also now available. Now these operative instruments can also be flexible or the rigid, and flexibles are very cumbersome and need frequent replacement. So rigid instruments are fixed at the end of the operative breech attached to the dorsal aspects of the distal line. So they are most commonly used. These are cumbersome to use because then if you want to remove the whole assembly, we have to remove. Again, the Great care should be taken to avoid the perforation of the uterus by using such electrodes, working elements, and that include monopolar balls, needle or shaving loops, bipolar balls, and cutting loop electrodes, bipolar scissors, and needles are also available. Now, some specific hysteroscopy like Versa point, where they use the return electrodes is mounted on the shaft of the instrument, and thus they remove the tissue. So, uh, what happened here? In unipolar resectoscope, where the current goes through the working element, it goes through the distension media, it returns to the patient's plate, and then while in bipolar resectoscope, there is a return electrodes are attached to the instrument itself, and it returns back to the generator through the same working channel. So in here, the safety lies with the bipolar, and distension media is being used as a conductive medium. So in monopolar resectoscope, you need to use the glycine as a distension media, while glycine overload can cause a problem. That is the reason why the bipolar has come into invention, where the undercurrent cautery is being used, and this normal saline can be used as a distension media to prevent the complications like volume overload. So bipolar can give you the much more better safety, especially in the big, long time consuming procedures like big submucous myoma, or the multiple submucous myoma has to be resected out. So you need to have a good set of good quality of instruments rather than have a cupboard full of them. So few selected good instruments are good enough. Now, how do you take care of such instruments? They are very delicate. So there are the precursor steps before sterilization and maintaining the hysteroscopy instruments. One is the cleaning. So manual cleaning is most important. With a on each, you can use the brush or the jet waters and spray, and then you can remove all debris and the clots over in the system. Then proper rinsing, drying of the instruments, either with the you can dry before any using the disinfectants, or at least before storing them. So it is one of the important step to remove the microorganism recontamination with the water. One can use a hair dryer or the drying air jets. So after that, we put it in the sterilization. Sterilization can be by autoclaving. It can be metallic instruments can be autoclaved. Nowadays, many telescopes and sheets are autoclavable available. But on repeated use of autoclaving, telescope can get when have to be very careful while sterilizing the telescope, because it can cause a problem, clogging of the protein, and cause a vision blur. So tubes and cords can also be doubly covered with the cloth and can be autoclave, and flash autoclave one can be used for the rapid sterilization. The other is the gas sterilization, where you can store for a longer time of like days or months, because if you do not have the repeated cases, this can be very useful by plasma or the gas sterilization. The temperature set is 85 degrees Celsius for cold gas, and instruments can be kept for 4 hours and 30 minutes. And hot sterilization can be required for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and followed by 8 hours of aeration. Aeration is also important here. It's non-corrosive in nature, so these are most commonly preferred way of sterilizing. It's also remove the spores and so mycobacteria. So this is much more reliable way. Cost and toxicity is there with the ETO gas, and the time required for sterilization is more. Another way of sterilization are the disinfectant. The CDC approved the high level of disinfectant for hysteroscopy, and that is by 2.4% or more glutaraldehyde, or 0.55% OPA, or the other solutions with alcohol. Formalin chamber once was used commonly, but is found to be extremely irritating, and it has been reported there is potentially cancer forming and its efficacy is yet inconclusive, especially for mycobacteria. So glutaraldehyde can be used with the buffer solutions, and the 25-degree temperature exposure is minimum of 20 degree. OPA is one of the, it doesn't require the activation, so it causes the fastest sterilization by the chemicals. It is less toxic and safe to handle, and its life is 14 days, so can be used for longer duration also. The instruments, if they're having lots of clots, can be put into the ultrasonic instrument with its cleansing solution, then the chamber that is filled with the disinfectant solution. So key point for the hysteroscopy instruments. The instruments used in hysteroscopy are divided as a telescope, optics, the sheets and working instrument, and the receptoscope. They can be rigid or flexible, being delicate. They need to be handled, cleaned and sterilized and used carefully. It is essential to have good tools, but it is also essential that the tool should be used in the right way. So right way of using those instruments will be carried by another sets of talk. Thank you so much. So caution is, this machine has no brain, use your own brain.